Kurt hurriedly packed his things, struggling to focus as it dawned on him that having a microchip cut from his palm with a kitchen knife had been the easy part. The ice had numbed Kurt's hand and the pills had numbed everything else, but a dull kind of regret still engulfed him as the magnitude of his actions began to sink in. Rather than argue with this cloud of negativity, he tried to ignore it altogether. "One thing at a time," he told himself. "Don't rush. We have to pack before we can leave." A cocktail of guilt, anger, and hope had driven Kurt to remove his seed a few minutes earlier, but a straight shot of urgency was just now hitting his bloodstream. He knew that removing a seed deprived it of all biofeedback and that Amos would thus assume Kurt had made use of the cyanide pills he had so kindly gifted him. Knowing, too, that Amos hated to waste time, Kurt feared that someone might already be on the way to collect the body. Every second was crucial. He tried again to shake off the negative thoughts. "We have to pack before we can leave." It was imperative for Kurt and Minter to bring everything they might need, since there was no way of knowing how long it would take to help Ernesto's resistance movement defeat Sycamore, or even what kind of supplies the group would have. Kurt was equally unclear as to exactly where this group was based, but Minter seemed sure enough. Kurt managed to contain his curiosity for now. One thing at a time. The last item of clothing to go in was the old pair of jean shorts that Kurt had worn on stage at the end of the talent search, as he smiled and shook Amos's hand, unwittingly condemning everyone he loved to the nightmarish realities of compulsory microchipping, crime prev, and the movement tax. "Why are you bringing those stupid shorts?" Minter asked from the other side of the sofa. He sat patiently as Kurt packed. "Randy gave them to me," Kurt said, and that was reason enough. Kurt had lost the t-shirt and espadrilles from that night, most likely during his hasty upgrade from a run-down student apartment to a sprawling Longhampton mansion, and he was surprised to find that he missed them. That laughably makeshift outfit had been symptomatic of just how little Kurt had before joining Sycamore, but he would have taken comfort in bringing it with him for whatever challenges lay ahead. 6 chaotic weeks had passed since the talent search, but recent events had destroyed Kurt's sense of time so much that it might as well have been yesterday. The few days since Stacy's death, meanwhile, had been an agonizing crawl through time's murkiest corridors. The guilt Kurt felt for Stacy and Professor Winter's deaths was the kind that could never be shaken. He knew this. But Amos had somehow found a way to twist the knife even deeper. Sycamore's show of strength at the vomit-inducing sham of a memorial service gave Kurt reason to fear for the world's future. But the way that Amos pounced on Stacy's death as an excuse to consolidate his own power crushed Kurt's will to live. A world where one man controlled the agenda to the extent that he could kill an innocent woman and use her death to forward his own interests was quite simply a world that Kurt Jacobs could no longer face. This hopelessness had come to a head when Kurt caught sight of the cyanide pills Amos had left to tempt him, and he had stood at the very precipice of surrender before Minter arrived as the unlikeliest of saviors. At his lowest ebb, Kurt had accepted that he could do nothing to undo his mistakes or save his family from Sycamore's sick vision for humanity's future. But now that there was a sliver of hope, Kurt cursed himself for even contemplating leaving them to fend for themselves. What kind of future would he have been leaving them to fall into? What kind of world would Sabrina have been left to grow up in? Real you? Sponsored clothing? The goddamn ads! The ever-evolving forms of ads she would be subjected to. Each deluge more invasive, pervasive, and perverted than the last. And these were only the things Kurt knew about. What new methods of repression would Amos dream up for the seed that Kurt had given him? It was hard enough for Julian to take care of Sabrina while their father Randy was injured, let alone with the added pressures that hyperconnectivity inflicted on each of them. Truly, a life under Sycamore would be no life at all. Amos had given his word, for all it was worth, that Kurt's family would not be harmed as long as Kurt stayed away from them and everyone else. Kurt had been feebly willing to go along with this bargain, until Minter arrived with promises of a new and better option.